Hello and good evening. Welcome to Talking Business on the Growth, Profitability and Sustainability Group. Hi, I'm Martin Sharp, and tonight I am honoured to be joined by Menaka, who's recently published her book, Resilience Learned. This is a fabulous book, and I had the privilege of being able to read the draft copy and got my own personalised signed copy as well. So yeah, Menaka, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how the book came about.
Thank you for having me, Martin. The book actually was born just 3,000 words written, no intention of writing the book. And I think when I started telling my story to people, particularly in PSA, and they started saying, "Oh, you have a powerful story. You should really write something. It gives us hope." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I kind of put it along, and then stopped and started. And he even said at one point he thought this book will never be published, but yeah, here it is. So yes.
Yeah, absolutely, and what an amazing book it is. I must admit, when I read the draft manuscript and then read the book itself, there's so much that you've been through in your life, and I remember one of the key questions you asked me at the end when you were giving me an interview around what I thought of the book was, how could I relate to the book? And there's lots of stories in here. I've got no way of being able to relate to. It's just experiences you've had that are just absolutely phenomenal. In a good and bad way in many respects. And I can imagine those kind of experiences have really shaped your life, your working life, and certainly you shared some of the stories with us in the book.
Yes, I think, I think for all of us, our experiences make us how we are, for sure. And I think early on, it definitely made me realize nothing is permanent. And, including people, places, things, anything can disappear anytime. And I think one way it just prepared me for change, because change is, I think, one denominator which will happen in business, in personal life, in every aspect of your life. I guess universe prepared me a bit earlier than other people for the change, I guess.
Yeah. No, I can certainly imagine that and recognise a lot of that in there. And I know also you're a business lady in your own right as well. So alongside doing the writing of books and having an amazing life and all those experiences, you've kind of run a dental practice, you've run a coaching practice, and you've done all sorts of things. So just tell us a few of the experiences you've had there.
So I became a dentist in 95. I qualified, shows my age. And then I started teaching dentist immediately after. Then I got married and came to this country, redid the exams, and then bought my dental practice. It was a huge gamble at the time. And I think if you don't take risk, it goes to show you will never progress. And everyone thought it was a huge amount of money at that time. Loan, I didn't have pound to my bank account at the time, but I just thought that's something, because I remember when my final year results came, one of my seniors asked, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I didn't blink an eye. I said, "Yeah, I'll have my practice." Yeah, I don't know from where it came, but it was always there. So I had my practice, learned my lessons the difficult way, because I soon realized I was a good dentist, or I am a good dentist, but it doesn't really mean that I'm a good business person. And there was a very big difference between them. And I think that's what many business owners don't understand. We are very good in what we do, but running a business is very different from that. And I think that is the biggest lesson I had learned. And the second lesson I really learned is you have to look after the number one, and that's you, because there's no business without you. I learned that the hard way. I almost learned it almost whilst I was coming out of dentistry, literally. And yeah, these two lessons, I think, is my takeaway message for anyone.
Definitely. I can certainly relate on the journey of learning the hard way about taking care of yourself. My business journey goes in a very similar way. When I started my business, I was only 88 kilos doing slaloms and all sorts of other good things. And it only took 5 years, 5 years of really just concentrating on the business, concentrating on clients, and just being so single-minded and focused that I kind of woke up to the fact I was 154 kilos and really didn't move that often. And it obviously has a massive impact because you're slower, you're more lethargic, you don't get as much done, not as productive. But at the time, you just don't kind of realize these things. And so that kind of ability to have self-care is really kind of important. So for yourself, what kind of key things or key messages do you give your clients when you're working with them specifically around self-care?
So one of my system is specifically for self-assessment and self-care and mindset, because I think it's really, really important. A couple of things is, one is, it's good to be resilient. You have to be resilient in a business because change is inevitable. You will have HR problems, you will have financial problems, you will have systematic problems, all sort of. But resilience is good provided you don't take it too far. For me, I call it wearing a mask, because I was wearing the smile all the time. And even when I was really, really down, I was referred to the stress-related illness into the secondary care. The consultant told me when he first saw me, he was thinking, why is she being referred? Because I was dressed well. I said hi with a big smile. And, so that's what happens. But I think that is taking the resilience to another level. So it's also important to ask for help and advice when you really cannot do it. Know your limitations. I think that is also important. And because I think we live in this Instagram lifestyle world now, everybody wants to show that we are invincible, we have the lifestyle, but it is really not true in the real life. It doesn't really happen like that. You have other bits and pieces. You have relationships, you have children, you have health. Even at one point, I had so many different, pieces in the puzzle falling apart, and I was struggling to still show everything was okay. Yeah. I think that is another thing you need to learn. If it's not okay, you need to be able to say it's not okay. I need some help. There are always people happy to help, provided you say it. So I think wearing a mask is, particularly when you're a professional or a leader, I think it becomes a bit difficult because you want to show and you want to be the example of strength. But I think you have to kind of balance it to show both the sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, of course, self-care. So now I do meditation, and I always chunk it down, because even for me, physical activity is not my strength. But at least, walk for 10 minutes, or have water.
Yes.
All the time. And so small things, or prepare your meal, because what happens is when you don't prepare the meal, you end up eating junk. I mean, that's what I was doing. I was dropping my child, going to work, coming back. It was hamster wheel lifestyle. I was having coffee, chocolates, and putting on more and more. And, you keep changing. You don't, like you said, you don't even realize how much weight you put on, sometimes. And people around you sometimes probably are a bit more kinder to you, and they don't tell you what's actually how you're expanding into the world.
Yeah, you need one or two of those true friends that actually tell you the truth and kind of shock you out, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
So what kind of was the event that really shocked you out of that period and really started to make you realize, actually, I need to take more care of myself?
Okay. The first event was I had fraud, so that was a financial learning about business. But the main thing was, for me, I was signed off from work for 6 months because I was not mentally fit to work, basically.
Oh, wow.
Because of stress and everything else going on in my life. And nobody could believe it. All my friends were telling, we thought you were so happy. What happened? Because I was going the holidays, I was having the car, the house, outside it, everything was perfect life. And, I think that was the issue. Main issue was that. And then it was like a really fall on the ground, because I didn't know how to cope with time, because I was so busy being busy. And that's what kept me going. And I needed the adrenaline rush. And now when I look back on it, I remember one of my friends said, if you go at this pace, you're going to have a heart attack and, go one day. And another friend said to me, I think you need help. Not in that way. She didn't know what was happening, but she was thinking, because I still remember, the teeth whitening. A lady came to do it, and just because I didn't want to choose between the staff, I said, I will do it, get it done. So I sat on the chair, and I found it so hard to sit for that that amount of time because I wasn't used to it. So,
Yeah.
I was on the go all the time. And I think that was the biggest difficulty for me in the beginning because I kept going to the GP and said, can I please go back to work? I will feel better when I go back to work because I'm staying at home and actually making it worse. I guess in a way it made it worse, but I had to become worse to become better, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. I didn't know any alternative therapy. I came to Power to Achieve in that 6 months to kill time, really.
Oh, wow. So you went on personal development to kill time. Fantastic.
So I sat next to Mihail and I said, oh, what do you do? He said, I'm NLP trained. I said, what is it? Because I was really in this bubble or cocoon. And, I went to more dentistry courses, met dentists and doctors mostly, and really didn't know anything else. I never even thought I could do anything else other than dentistry at that point.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting because there are so many professionals that are locked into that same cycle. The heart surgeon, that's the most amazing heart surgeon, but he probably writes heart surgery monthly or something, doesn't go outside the heart surgery world. Or also the professional IT consultant who just does IT or anything like that, and doesn't really break that mold, that bubble. And sometimes it's when you look over the fence, you can find all sorts of great things. There's different ideas, different ways of working, different approaches you can take. And even if you're not doing a drastic change to change your career path or to completely change your lifestyle, you can certainly use these ideas to benefit your clients, your working environments, etc. So that diversification's always a good thing, and a thing that I like to advocate when I'm working with people. So I kind of guess once you've kind of got to this position where you've had this life-changing moment, you've spoken to Mihail, you've kind of working out these bits and pieces. What was kind of the next major step for you? How did you kind of take yourself from being what was potentially someone who's broken and not trying to work out where you fit in the world to actually somebody who's now very successful again in yet another field?
So I used to love speaking. I used to win awards in school, but because I migrated and I was the only person who didn't study in the English, so I'm not good enough, kicked in. And I was teaching and training dentists here, but for me, I was not good enough. At one point, I felt I was too big. I was not, even when people said you're beautiful, I didn't really believe it. And, some of the factors, a part of my life, people who surrounded me or whatever, didn't help either. So, that was part of it. So what I did was when I came, I decided, okay, I'm going to try everything I can. So I tried from Ayurvedic to hypnosis to NLP. I'm one of these course junkies anyway. So
Okay.
I went, before that I had done a certificate course in education to teach dentists anyway. So, all that helped. And then I loved NLP and hypnosis. And I just thought, okay, fine. If I am good at it, I would learn. So I just went and got trained to do it for other people. And then I went and did a leadership course with Cambridge. Mm-hmm. And I just said, because Cambridge is like, the dream come true for me, coming from Asia, we all think, people have to go to Oxford or Cambridge. That's important. And then I still was doing dentistry in and out. I was ill, I was off, and then I was going back. And then I just knew, I love dentistry. I'm really grateful for dentistry. What I am today is because of dentistry. But I think I am more passionate about now to help people the way I do. Because when you do timeline therapy or NLP, it's like amazing results. People who have been abused or people who have had drastic things. Because I think I also come from that kind of background, and I know what kind of help you can give and how you can actually impact on someone's life. That kind of made me want to do it. And then, then obviously slowly I wrote the book, published it. And so that was another piece in the puzzle which fitted in. And then obviously with Andy's and your group, all the community, then I started speaking more and more. And then I think, sometimes I think universe throws things to you and it just starts fitting in automatically. And, I just decided, okay, fine, I'm going to take a break fully and concentrate and have a good go at it and see what happens.
Excellent. And obviously that's had some fantastic results, not just for you, but also for many of your clients as well that you've been working with. And again, teaching them the skills that you've... Sorry, my dog's just decided to grab his squeaky toy. He's joining in, obviously. What do they say? Never work with kids and animals. But yeah, so you're getting some great results for your clients, again, using the same skills that you've got, but also bringing your experience in there as well. And I was, again, watching some of the testimonials that you had the other day, which was, again, really good to see those coming back out. So what kind of work have you really been doing with your clients that have had sort of the most dramatic effects?
So one is I have been working with a couple of people who have been abused when they were younger. Physical abuse and sexual abuse, really. And that those two testimonials have been life-changing for me as well as them, I think, because for me that gives me hope and pushes me to do more of it. And then I did this workshop the other day. I think I shared the testimony with that lady, and I never thought, because I always talk about productivity and time management, because I was not very good at it, because I took even more and more and more. I was one of these people. Because multitasking was my thing before.
Yep.
And then I did some research, and even the computers actually don't do multitasking. They do one thing at a time, but alternate. That's how the term was coined in the beginning. Yep. So when I saw, and that's the one thing that lady really liked. And because she is in transition between 9 to 5 to do her own business. And then I did another workshop on Saturday. So, I'm also learning while growing, I think. Obviously, I'm taking feedback from people, what works and doesn't work. So mainly broadly, now I talk about, one is the transformation, the simple transformations. Then I talk about mental health. The other thing is, if you're burnt out or stress-related illness, how you can come out. And I put it as a smile system, because obviously I'm a dentist, I smile. So and the third one is, if you're transitioning through career, how to identify what you're good at and make sure you pick what you're good at and create income from it, rather than following someone else's instructions, or what parents say, what your family says, friends says. It's better to follow your own path and do whatever you like.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. And this, again, so you're starting to see those kind of results coming out as well. So you mentioned timeline therapy as being one of the kind of tools that you use. Are there any other key tools that you find that are really helpful?
So time management and productivity tools are really helpful. The other thing, first exercise I do for everyone is values.
Yep.
What are your values? And so the whole system comes in play. So in your relationships, with your business, because someone like once told me that they want to travel the world and their prime value is stability. And I'm like, okay, I don't think this is the good idea, really. So, when you dig deep until, but that's because her friend is doing that and she thinks it's better to travel together and it'll be fun. But I'm like, yeah, but might be your friend's values are different. So
yeah.
Value is very important as well, I think, and then goal setting, it's clarity. Purpose and how you plan it, and reverse engineer the whole thing. Because even for me, when I started, I didn't have clarity. I still remember when I came, I worked with Julie when I came, and she asked, first of all, I said, I don't have a story. So I talked about the fraud in the practice, and because they said, you're a dentist, you ran your own business, that's what you should do, business coaching. I went along with it, and poor Julie, like I changed my system totally after 9 months. I said, probably I can do it, but that doesn't, that's not what makes me happy.
Yeah.
I want to move away from it. And then I did work. At one point, I thought I'm only going to do women. And then men started coming to work with me, and they started giving even better testimonials. I'm thinking, of course, I'm doing something wrong there. So,
something very right, I think. I think there's definitely a lot of men out there that need to open up and speak more and talk about the real things that are going on in their lives rather than superficial things. So definitely a needed service, I think.
Yeah. So what I now say is, it's like roadblocks, isn't it? When you find the roadblock, then don't go back, but at least definitely sit and think about how you want to reroute and reach where you want to reach. And first of all, but I think the clarity is the biggest problem, and values and clarity to start with. Because if you don't start with that kind of foundation, then I think halfway through you find it hard. I have done it myself, so now I know how important it is.
Definitely, and I think that echoes against a lot of things that I've seen, and with clients I work with, and certainly down the strategic planning side of it, there tends to be three kind of key aspects of stuff. It's clarity, like you've said, time is the other one, and then the last one's profit is usually the key one that comes out from a business perspective. Obviously, you working directly with people, that might not be one of the subjects that they come out with, but certainly values is a very core principle that everyone needs to hold dear. And especially when you're running a business, because if you don't get your values right and don't embody your business with your values, then it will take on its own life. It will become its own entity. I mean, that's why legally standing, a business is separate to who you are. And I do know some business owners that have kind of woke up so like 5 years later and realised they hate the business they've created because the values that they hold, they are no longer embodied in that business. So yeah, agreed.
I used to mentor for Santander Bank for women in business. And I remember I had one client who at one time, she said, I don't want to know any of these. I just want to make the money. I'm like, yes, but you have to kind of go back a few steps and go from, because even the purpose is really important, because when you do, you have to get the right people in according to your own purpose and fit everything into the business yourself and the HR. And also, when they understand what is the purpose, they're more likely to be motivated and do what they're supposed to do.
That's right, yeah. Especially if they resonate with your values and your purpose, because if you can get that really nice join between the pair of you, so that as your business moves forwards and you move forwards, you're actually moving them forwards as well. That I think to me is one of the greatest win-win type scenarios, in the truest sense that the outcome is greater than its parts in many cases. Yeah, no, absolutely, fantastic. I'd just like to give a bit of a shout out to everybody who's online. So a big thank you to Dave and Frank and Roger and Ruth and Roisin. It's good to see you guys out there, and Sarah and Helen. I hope you've enjoyed so far the conversation we've been having. If you do have any questions, please raise them, and we'll try and get them answered here. If not, we'll try and answer them offline as always. So we've talked about a number of different things there in your business practice, from your life and how you brought it through, and actually about some of the key things that hold you really dear. So if there was kind of one thing, one absolute message that you wanted everybody to take away from this interview and really embody in their life and in their business, what would it be?
Look after your mental health of yourself and your staff and your people around you, and keep an eye out, because it's not obvious all the time. But I think 1 in 4 of us are supposed to be now at some time or the other diagnosed with some kind of mental illness. I think it's very close to my heart. And I think shout out is to please look after yourself and look after people around you, and even people who work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very, very good and noble request, because I think some people can kind of push themselves a bit too far and end up through burnout, stress, or various other ailments, to be frank, which can be even more debilitating, and not all of them are necessarily visible.
And also, I think in the businesses, it increases performance, it increases productivity, it will also increase your profit when you look after, I think, that basic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, just quickly having a look, see if we've got any questions come through. I think it's all quiet at the moment. So if that is the case, I'd just like to say a huge thank you for coming on and speaking to us about yourself and your journey and your book and kind of some of those key things there. I'd love to invite you back at some point to maybe do an expert review, so you can maybe take us through a little bit more about some of the learnings that you've had and how you teach some of your clients some of those key things that really keep them stable, keep them resilient, and make them even better than they are today.
Thank you so much for having me, Martin.
You're welcome anytime. And thank you everybody for being on Talking Business tonight. As I say, if you do have any further questions, please drop them in the note and we will invite Monica back to go through an expert view at some time in the future. So please keep an eye on the group and we'll get that posted in the events when we've got that one arranged. We've got coming up a one in June with Alex again, who's going to be going back through his property business and how he's making things work there. And we're looking for, again, any more questions that kind of come out to make things better for you guys when you're looking to build your growing, profitable and sustainable business. So it's a good night and thank you very much from myself, Martin Sharp, and also from Monica, and we hope you have an absolutely fabulous week ahead. Bye for now. He says if you can remember which button to press.